So today we have brought a recently released amazing science fiction movie. A huge meteorite crashes onto Earth, and at that very spot a portal is formed. Through that portal, many dangerous monsters enter Earth who hunt humans, and whoever they injure, that human also mutates into a monster. But for some reason, their attacks have no effect on women. Only men turn into monsters. Because of this, the heroine of our story is fighting those monsters with the help of a women's army. Her family tries their best to survive this monster attack. So what happens next, friends? How does this monster apocalypse end? Does it end or not? To find out all this, let's watch a superb science fiction action horror movie released in 2025 called World Breaker, which also features that amazing famous actor from the Resident Evil movies. Well, at the beginning of the story, we are shown our heroine Lara. Lara is the chief of a women's army, friends. So when she gives the order, all her soldiers fire flare guns, which light up the entire area in front of them, and then according to Lara's order, everyone moves forward. After a while, growling sounds are heard from the front, meaning something very dangerous, and then all the soldiers start shouting as well, and then we are shown, friends, that many monsters are coming towards them to attack. Lara gives the order to attack, and her soldiers, full of energy, start attacking those monsters. On one side, a fierce battle is going on, and on the other side, we are shown Lara's daughter Willa, who is in a safe place, and Lara's husband, whose name is Steven, friends, is also with Willa. Willa asks where these monsters came from. Then Steven explains that many years ago a meteorite fell on Earth, and a portal was formed at that place. Through that, all these monsters started coming to Earth and began attacking humans brutally. And even if those monsters give a small scratch to someone, that human also gets infected by the same virus and turns into a monster, meaning they mutate. But till now only boys and men have mutated from their attacks, and no woman has ever mutated from their attack. That is why women are fighting against these monsters, and Willa's mother is the most capable among them, which is why she is their chief. And when there is no battle happening, Lara spends time with Willa. These monsters had already arrived on Earth before Willa was born. And since Willa had never seen other animals, birds, etc., Lara used to teach her about animals and birds through dolls. Willa asks if those animals and birds are still alive. Lara says that they must be alive, but they don't know where they are, and she tells her not to worry because one day humans will defeat these monsters, and then she will be able to roam freely, and see all these animals and birds in real life. Now friends, the next day is Willa's 16th birthday, and her parents celebrate by making a cake for her. Lara has made a woolen cap for Willa, which she gifts to her, and Willa happily wears it. Just then, Steven gives her a woolen dog and tells her that people used to keep these as pets in their homes, and that one day he will gift her a real dog. But then suddenly, friends, an announcement is made in the camp that there is danger and everyone must evacuate the place. Actually, these people do not stay in one place forever, otherwise they become victims of monster attacks. That is why several families together keep moving from one place to another and set up camps, and when danger appears at one place, they move to another. Now they have to quickly pack their things and leave from here. In the battle shown at the beginning, many of Lara's soldiers had died. Lara sadly tells Steven about it, and Steven comforts her and asks about the wound on her cheek and when she got it. Lara says that it has been 72 hours since she got it, and if she had to mutate, she would have already mutated by now. So there is no need to worry, and anyway, women have never been affected by monster attacks. Then like Lara's family, many other families from that camp leave the place in vehicles. Soldiers are making them board different vehicles, so Lara tells Willa that she has to go with her soldiers and asks her not to trouble her father and to listen to him carefully. Saying this, Lara says goodbye to Steven and Willa and leaves. All the vehicles start moving. Willa clings to Steven and prays to God for her mother's safety. And at this moment, friends, the atmosphere is very tense. Then a soldier tries to lighten the mood by explaining that at first they thought those monsters would also mutate women. But later they found out that monster attacks do not affect women. The soldier explains that the brain structures of men and women are quite different, where male brains are bigger compared to body size but their neural connections are fewer than females. And maybe that is why males are easily becoming victims of monsters while that virus has had no effect on females so far. So Willa falls asleep while listening to the soldiers' conversation. Suddenly, some noise is heard and gunshots can be heard. It seems the monsters have found this place, and the soldiers are shooting them. Willa is very scared, but Stephen calms her and assures her that as long as he is there, nothing will happen to her, and she should not be afraid. A soldier sitting inside goes outside. But then, hearing a monster's roar, everyone holds their breath and sits quietly inside, and when things calm down a bit, they think that the monster has gone. But suddenly that monster grabs a woman and drags her outside. Out of fear, everyone gets out of the vehicle and starts running, but seeing more monsters in front, they run in another direction. Soldiers keep shooting the monsters to save them, but the monsters keep coming continuously, and some people also get attacked. So Willa hides under a vehicle, but even there a monster comes and growls at her. But then a soldier shoots that monster. However, shooting does not kill them. The only way to kill them is to separate their head from their body. That is why the soldier cuts off the monster's head, and then it is revealed that the soldier who saved Willa was none other than Lara. Lara then tells Willa and Stephen to go into the nearby forest, saying that for now that is the only safe place, and they must not stop anywhere. Meanwhile, the monsters had attacked an old man, because of which he was mutating. In such a situation, there is no other option except to kill him, otherwise he would infect others. So unwillingly, a soldier kills him, and now Stephen and Willa, along with the rest of the people, start heading toward the forest. But Lara and the other soldiers stay back there so that they can protect these people from the monsters. Stephen understands that Lara is ready to sacrifice her life, and with deep emotion he says goodbye and leaves. Now the next morning, it is shown that all the people have scattered in different directions in the forest. Stephen and Willa reach near a lake where there is a boat. Stephen is checking that boat when suddenly a voice comes from the forest. Willa feels that someone might be in trouble and suggests helping, but Stephen refuses, explaining that they cannot trust anyone right now because the person could be infected or mutated and dangerous. Then a man comes out from the forest and claims that it is his boat, and questions what they are doing with it. Stephen replies that they are not doing anything and are just looking for food. The man then shows a gun and demands the truth. At that moment, hearing a sound from behind, the man turns around and Stephen notices a bite mark of a monster on his back. That means the man is mutating and will soon turn into a monster. Stephen then admits that he did come looking for a boat but points out that the boat has no fuel. He adds that he knows a place where there is plenty of fuel and suggests that if the man gets it, he could at least escape using the boat. Hearing this, the man agrees and goes with Stephen. Stephen takes him into the forest and kills him with his knife, then returns and escapes with Willa using that boat. After traveling a long distance, they reach an island where no one lives. Stephen and Willa start living there, and Willa every day goes to a high place on that island and keeps looking toward the place from where they came, where constant war is still going on. One day she sees a sea bird flying, and it is the first time she has ever seen a bird. She gets very excited. While following it, she reaches its nest between the mountains, and when the bird is not there, she takes 3 out of the 4 eggs from the nest, leaving 1 behind so the bird can grow its family. Talking to herself, she brings the 3 eggs home. When Stephen finds out, he scolds her for not informing him and questions how she climbed such a height alone, warning what could have happened if she had fallen. He then tells her to prepare food while he goes to cut wood. But Willa does not like cooking and expresses her desire to learn wood cutting and become brave like her mother. Stephen agrees and begins training her to fight. Despite his injured leg, he easily defeats Willa but acknowledges that she is brave like her mother and fights well, promising to start proper training from the next day. Stephen then cooks the eggs. Willa looks at herself in the mirror and feels sad, missing how her mother used to take care of her. Stephen steps in and takes care of her, just like Lara used to, and expresses that he also misses her deeply. They share an emotional moment together. Stephen used to tell Willa a story about a strong superhero who killed thousands of monsters with a sharp axe. Willa questions the realism of such stories and suggests that he might be exaggerating his own past battles. Stephen laughs, acknowledging her observation. In reality, when the monsters first arrived, Stephen fought them and discovered that they could not be killed by bullets, but only by cutting off their heads. He then tells Willa that these monsters will not stay forever and one day humanity will eliminate them completely. But until then, this knowledge must be passed on to future generations, that monsters can only be killed by cutting off their heads. The next day, Stephen goes to the shore and sets up some landmines. At present, monsters cannot swim and reach there through water, but if they evolve in the future and start swimming, they will step on these landmines and explode. That is why Steven prepares these defenses. Later, he sits on the shore with Willa and, using binoculars, explains that these monsters do not have eyes but their other senses are very strong, and if they attack a human, they can absorb all the information from that person's brain. After this, Steven gives Willa proper military training, and she learns quite quickly. Especially when she uses the sword, Steven feels as if he is watching Lara, as she handles it very skillfully. Then Steven goes to check the plants he has been growing, finds something, and becomes very happy. He brings it to Willa, and it turns out to be strawberries. Willa does not recognize them at all, but after tasting them, she is amazed by how good they are. Steven explains that they are strawberries, and that it is surprising they are still growing on this island. He then tells her more about them. Because that cap is a memory of her mother, it holds great value. The next day, Willa goes down the mountain to fetch water and suddenly looks towards the beach. She sees a girl, who screams loudly at the sight of her. The girl runs towards her, but Willa panics and fears she'll trigger the mine, prompting her to loudly tell her to stop. Luckily, the girl stops in time and, following Willa's instructions, comes out of the mine area. The girl then cries and explains that the monsters are very dangerous. Willa takes her to her secret cave base, lights a fire, and gives her water to drink so she can rest. Willa then notices a head injury, asking what happened. The girl explains that it was probably from a boat collision. She explains that her name is Rosie and that she was going to her grandmother's house with her family when suddenly, water monsters appeared in the water, which previously couldn't swim but now can, and they capsized their boat, killing her father and brother. Hearing this, Willa feels very sympathetic and she gives her dry rations and asks her to eat, after which Willa thinks of going home and bringing more food, but the girl gets very scared and refuses to leave her alone, on which Willa agrees out of compulsion. Then the scene changes, where Willa finds herself in the forest and suddenly footsteps are heard from behind, on which she becomes alert and goes for the knife. However, the one approaching is her mother, Laura. They hug and cry. A few seconds later, Laura says they must leave immediately. Willa asks about her father, but Laura says humanity needs warriors, and a useless person like Steven isn't fit to join them. Hearing this, Willa looks up and realizes it was all a dream. She wakes up in a panic. After composing herself, she realizes her father must be worried. She quickly packs her things and returns home. As she comes in, Steven is frightened but also happy to see her. He angrily asks where she was all night, but Willa doesn't dare tell the truth and lies, saying she was lost in the forest and spent the night in a safe place. Steven doesn't doubt her and offers her food, telling her that their food is almost finished. The weather is getting colder, and there's nothing left in the garden, so they have to save it. After a while, Willa asks about the weapon, to which Steven tells her that he killed the infected man who stopped them last year. Then he reminds her that women can also transform, but the chances are very low. Later that night, when Steven falls asleep, Willa takes food back to Rosie's place and gives it to her. Rosie quickly eats it. Willa tells her to eat slowly. Rosie asks Willa if she lives alone, and Willa lies, saying yes. Then, Willa tells her the same story Steven used to tell her, saying the world will return to normal. They leave before morning. The next day, Steven takes her to training again, and Willa trains well. Afterward, she starts playing a game with Steven and hides, but Steven falls. Willa realizes that Steven hasn't eaten anything so she can save some food for him. Willa takes Steven home and offers to cook for him, but Steven tells her that they'll have to keep the food until Laura comes. They argue over this, and Willa says she doesn't want to live like this. She wants to fight like her mother, even if it costs her life. At this, Steven gets angry, then after a while Steven gives her his old sword, seeing which Willa becomes very happy. Then the next day, Willa goes to show her sword to Rosie, where Steven tells her to take care of herself. Then when Willa reaches the cave and says, "Look, I brought something really nice," she sees that the hat and toys she gave to Rosie are all broken, and Willa feels bad about it. Then Willa hears a sound and moves in that direction, where she finds Rosie sitting. As Willa approaches her and notices the damage around, she becomes shocked upon seeing Rosie's face, realizing that she is mutating into a monster and is about to attack. Although Willa had received training from Steven, she is unable to react properly at that moment, and tries to calm her instead of fighting. At that moment, Stephen arrives and shoots the monster. The monster then turns towards Stephen. When his gun runs out of bullets, he uses his sword to cut off the monster's head, saving both himself and Willa. Stephen then explains that these monsters can communicate mentally, so the ones across the water may already know that humans are on this island and might have even learned to swim. This makes it necessary for them to leave the island. It soon becomes clear that the monsters have indeed learned to swim. Stephen and Willa prepare to escape using the boat he had already arranged. Meanwhile, the monsters are shown rapidly swimming toward the island. As Stephen and Willa rest under a tree, explosions are heard, indicating that the landmines are going off. Stephen quickly takes Willa and starts running. They reach a place where a tree has been placed between two mountains like a bridge. Willa, having been trained, crosses it safely. Before Stephen can follow, a monster attacks him and pushes him down. Willa returns and cuts off the monster's head with her sword. However, a new problem arises as the monsters have evolved further. Even after decapitation, their brains continue to send signals, allowing their bodies to keep attacking. While fighting, Willa is pushed back on the bridge, but at the last moment, Stephen crushes the monster's head completely, causing its body to fall off the mountain. He explains that now it is not enough to cut off the head. The brain must also be destroyed, and this knowledge must be passed on. They continue running, but Stephen collapses because his leg is completely damaged. A monster appears, but this time Willa defeats it on her own by cutting it into two pieces and destroying its brain. After overcoming many such challenges, they reach the beach. Stephen tells Willa that she will now have to take care of herself. He explains how to use the boat and operate it. It is then revealed that Stephen has been injured by a monster and will soon mutate. Willa is unable to accept this and struggles emotionally, but the sound of approaching monsters forces a decision. Stephen prepares to stay back and fight them, allowing Willa to escape. Willa goes to the boat and tries to push it into the water, but it does not move properly. As she struggles, she looks back and realizes that Stephen has already started mutating. At that moment, Willa understands that she must survive on her own. She takes out her sword and prepares to fight the monsters. Stephen feels relieved seeing that she has become capable of protecting herself. Just then, a sound comes from the sea, and Willa sees that her mother Lara has arrived with her team to rescue her. It turns out that Lara survived. She has even brought a real dog with her. As more monsters attack the island, Willa no longer feels fear. She raises her sword and stands ready to fight, knowing that her mother is now with her. And with this, the story comes to an end.